Let me know when.
You are up.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. Um, the workshop today is how we are tracking contract payments, what you need to know. Okay, the agenda for today, we're going to cover topics such as roles and responsibility of the primes, that means the contractor also, and subcontractors for the reporting payments, the email notification process, the importance of subcontractor payment, confirmations, payment discrepancies. We're going to cover the newly enacted Executive Order number 2021-2 and who to contact when assistance is needed. Okay, first off, once a contract is awarded, um, all contracts, regardless of the contract type, construction work services, architectural and engineers, commodities, heavy vehicles and equipment, software, blah, 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 so on and so forth. They get all transferred into the system of record for contract payments, which is the certification and compliance software, also known as C2 system. On a monthly basis, normally by the end of the first Friday of every month, the um, payment system for the city of Chicago known as FMPS, thus the history of that month payments migration from its system onto the C2 system overnight. So what that does is once the payment is created, then the system automatically will create an entry in the master contract for you to go ahead and report on. What that does is once the entry gets created, or once the entry for that payment gets created, whoever the contact person for that prime is will receive an email notification. Okay, it will tell that person the city of Chicago has reported a payment for the month of XYZ. Please log into the system and report the payments for the subs for this given month. Okay, that's first thing. That's the first thing that happens. Second, email gets sent to whoever the contact person is. I kindly ask that whenever the contact name changes, that this compliance officer gets notified so it gets updated so the email doesn't go into a junk box or never land. Then, according to the terms and conditions of the special conditions that rules the contracts, before the 15th of the month, and probably within the first 5 days after you get the notification, you need to go and enter all of the payments of the data, the amounts, the date, the check number, the invoices that got paid for all the subs that are relevant to the payment that you just received. We're going to cover that section in a little bit. Okay. Number 4 is you get to enter the data, and as soon as you save the data, the subcontractor, once you hit the save button, and we're going to go through that process, maybe five slides in front of us. Um, as soon as that payment is saved, this the subs representative of the person who is assigned to that sub to monitor this contract will also get a notification letting them know that XYZ, that being the prime, has reported a payment for XYZ month. Please log into this C2 system, review, assess, and confirm the payment. Okay. Then there goes, I am the sub, I log into the C2 system. If everything matches, I go and I see, based on my dashboard, that I have depending on the number of contracts that I have, I will have as many number of entries for me to go and review. It will appear as an incomplete audit. If I don't have any, only one contract, I'm only going to see one entry. We're going to go through that. If I review the amount that is reported and I match it to my records and it makes perfect sense, perfect match, I will confirm. That will be number 6. And the compliance is done. Why? Because I have gone, the prime has issued the payment. It was posted onto the contract. I got the notification, me being the sub. I logged into the system. I reviewed the system payment data that it was reported. I matched that to my records. It's a perfect match. I'll go and I agree to that. There's just a button that says, I agree, everything is fine. That closes the cycle for that month. What happens if there is an issue? And we're going to go through the issues because those are what we call discrepancies. If the payment happens to be incorrect, either they mistype S0 or they cover an invoice that was already paid the month before, instead of creating a discrepancy, which is often what the subs do when they don't agree with the payment, we as the city, we encourage you to reach out to the prime and said, can we talk about this? And correct it with them before you create the discrepancy. Because when you create a discrepancy, that forces us to take action and work with both you and the prime in order to resolve this by asking for copies of canceled checks, front and back of a copy of the ACH, a copy of a bank statement to prove that the money actually was drawn from the account, so on and so forth. So just make sure that you reach out to the prime first when you find a discrepancy before you click on the I do not agree with this payment. Once you resolve that discrepancy, either by you acting with them, you communicating with the prime, resolving the difference, then the payment will be to your what it actually should have been. Then you will confirm it. Okay. Then you will resolve it, which will be the B, and then we'll go down to 7, and the audit will actually get confirmed, and off we go next to the next month. So this is kind of like the payment cycle on a monthly basis for every vendor that we call participating MWDV, that being MBE, WBE, DBE, and BBE, or SBI, that is on a contract. Okay, so now we're going to go over how the contractor, once they get notification from the city, which is basically this step. Prime is notified by email, and then how we get to see where the payments go. Once the prime gets into the system, prime is also what we call the contractor. That's the main person that actually enters into the contract with the city, not the subs. Once they log in into the dashboard, they will see that they have 7 incomplete audits total. That might be because they have 7 contracts, or they have not completed 7 outstanding audits, that they have not dispersed the monies to the subs. Okay. They will click on incomplete audits. They will click either on the ones that are less than 90 days or the ones greater than 90 days. Okay. Once you get, in this case, they have this prime, and this is very common for big vendors. This one has contracts with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different entities, cities, or vendors. That mean government entities, public or private entities, because our database is a nationally recognized database for payment tracking. So in this case, since we're talking about, for example, in this case is for this PO MKA 123 test from the city of Milwaukee. So the prime is going to click on the incomplete for this one. Now what happens? The system will tell them for April 2015, okay, the city of Milwaukee reported a payment. Here's the action. It says normally here it will be the name of the officer. If this was my contract, my number will be there, my name will be there. It will say City of Chicago, Department of Procurement Services, and my telephone number. So in case there is issues, you can contact me. But more likely you won't, because you need to get with them first, okay? That means this is who put the information into for the payment. By you clicking in this entry, incomplete for the April 2015 audit period for the city of Milwaukee, you got a payment for the month of April, okay? Is you have 3 subcontractors that you need to report monies to. It will have to be done by May 31st. That's the system date. But the requirement date, because this is not the City of Chicago example I'm using, they have for the 31st of the following month for you to report, of the month to report. We have, according to the special conditions, that all the cycle reporting and confirmation has to be done before the 24th. So being the prime gets into the system and clicks on this report 3 subcontractor payments. Now, we're going to see 2 different methods to report this payment. Okay, so let's go through the first one. In this case, you can do all of them at once. When you click on report 3 subcontractor payments, this option, there's the top portion of the screen, is going to appear. Okay, in this contract with the city of Milwaukee, for this contract, there's 3 vendors. Okay, 1 MBE and 2 WBEs. So either you can mark them all incomplete, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to submit all the incomplete ones. Then this, either you do it this way. This way is all vendors are listed, and you're going to enter the data, and then you're going to save it. Or you can do one by one individually by clicking on the vendor's name. Let's do it this way. You click submit all incomplete records. Okay, that's the option right above April 2015. This is going to show. In here, you're going to put the payment amount. It has to be, you see, within 7 days to be considered timely. Then in here, you're going to put the payment details. That could be invoice number, invoice date, check number, check date. And then if you have any documentation that you would like to include, we all sometimes, if the invoices are for the big projects that you have multiple phases of a project that get paid within the same month, or different task orders that you are working on, that you create a document that basically tells the sub, this is what I'm paying you for. And so the sub can do its own review before creating a discrepancy. Once all is done, you save and off we go. And you do them all at once. If you do not want to do that, instead of clicking submit all incomplete records, you click on each one individually. And what that does is it will open either you click submit response, click on the vendor, and this is what shows up. It's called the audit information section, which is this, but in a little bit more expanded way, if you will. Here, kind of the same, but it has more wording as to what is it that you are actually entering. Amount paid, how much is it that you, um, out of what you got paid, how much belong based on the invoices that you got for this sub, the date, and it gives you, enter the payment date that you made the payment for April 2015. If you made multiple payments, which a lot in the construction environment for large sites, almost for every contract, regardless, you always make more than one payment. You enter normally the payment of the first payment as the payment date, okay? Prompt payment, you can make that selection if it is upon getting you the email from the city. Within 7 days, you need to make this entry into the system. That's what we always say. Before the 5th of the month, all payments must be completed into the system. Payment detail, this is what you enter. You expand invoice number, invoice date, invoice check number, check date, amount paid, or the task order number, whatever the case happens to be. Attach a data file if you do have one, and any comments if you have any. Then you save it, and we're done with this one. Then you click on the next vendor, so on and so forth, until you complete all 3 vendors. Now, once you save this, is when me being the sub, I will get an email to say, hey, so and so just send you the payment. Now it's time for you to go into the system and assess the payment, review it against your records, and either confirm or deny it. Now, something that you always have to keep in mind, the way the system works, you can go ahead and report all of the money as a prime on a project that you presumably paid somebody, but it will not, the system will not take you as a credit towards the contract goals until the payment has been confirmed. If you report the million, don't account for that million as to being a full credit until the sub has confirmed it. No confirmation, no payment granted. Okay. So now, me being the sub, I go into the system, and this is going to be my screen. It's going to have a similar entry when I go in on my dashboard. Okay, this dashboard for the prime and for the sub are identical. It's going to say where the incompletes audits are. That's what it's going to be, and then audit discrepancies. We're going to cover the discrepancies. So when I log in and I click, it also going to say this, but instead of report 3 subcontractor payments, it's going to take me and it's going to say confirm payment received. Okay, because I am tier 1 to whoever the prime contractor is. Okay, this is for the April 2015 payment. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on the confirm payment received. And then this is all the history that my prime entered on this screen. Okay, this is how it shows to me. This is the payment, and this is the data for that payment. Okay, it was one way of a check. This is the invoice that it was paid 789 April 2, 2015. Okay, perfect. It matches what I got. So I confirm or I deny it. By saying incorrect, what I'm going to do, and we don't suggest that you do that, you're going to create an audit discrepancy. That's when we get involved. So I kindly ask you that when you run into these issues, that you contact the people that are here listed on your contract and say, hey, you over-reported, you under-reported, this check is missing, this amount is wrong, you transpose the numbers, whatever the case is, so they can go in, they can fix it. Once you're in agreement, then you can confirm it. Then you can click correct. Now, this final payment flag is a very sensitive field. Why? Because if you click final payment, and some people say, well, that was the final payment for the month. But that means, is this the final payment for the entire contract? Because when you click yes, this is going to set you off as you are done. And in the next month, your name is not going to appear as it does here. See, submit response. This is going to be all grayed out because that means you are done on the contract. You don't want to do that until you know that you have submitted your last payment on the project and that you have gotten paid. So stay away from this flag. Never touch that. Now, only there are very few construction contracts left where there is retainage, and normally that applies only to the construction contracts. So more likely, you are not going to answer any of that. And more likely, if you decide to do that, the answer will be no. And once you save it, it is closed. So now there's nothing to do. So now, what happened when a discrepancy, which based on what we know, it comes because this payment does not agree with my records, and I went on and I click on this little button that says incorrect. What is the cause of that? It's a discrepancy. What is the effect? Now more than one pair of hands have to get involved to resolve it and to make it right. Mind you, a payment will still not count as a credit on the contract for either MW, DSBI, whatever the goal, whatever certification you have on the contract towards the contract goal until the discrepancy also gets resolved. So there's a lot of instances where prime and sub do not agree. And this is the reason why. One of the reasons is if the prime has an accounting period that they issue payments only on the 27th, 28th of the month. They cut the check, they get signed, it gets mailed on the 29th. 29th is a Thursday, but you won't get it until the 4th of the following month. So you, being the sub, are going to say, that check, I didn't get the check. But the responsibility of the prime is to report on the day they cut the check, not on the day that you receive it. So overlapping of months is normally and is the most common reasons or cause for payment discrepancy. Okay, so don't get yourself caught up onto that, because if you look at the check and the check has that date, that's when they issue the check. That's the date that they must report it. Now, if the person who is responsible for doing the reporting or doing the confirmation happens to be out of the office, you need to delegate that task to somebody else. Why? Because they cannot self-resolve these items. It requires more than one, both the prime and the sub. Okay. If the system allows you two opportunities, two chances. There's a report. When they report the payment and you go and say incorrect, that's not it. They go and try one more time, the prime, because you are not talking. No, that's not the amount. And you put in there, blah, 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 blah. And then the prime says, I'm not in agreement. I'm sticking to what I paid. And then you said, well, I'm sticking to what I said. Then it comes to us, to the city of Chicago. Then the compliance officer will be emailing both of you to say, well, kindly provide me a copy of the canceled checks front and back. Or, since most people are a lot in the technology era, provide me a copy of the ACH, of the EFT confirmation that the payment went out, and the bank statement from the prime where those funds, either only from your payment or for the entire batch, was withdrawn from the account. We will make that assessment and we will resolve the discrepancy. But that will delay the prime getting the credit on that on that contract for that payment. A lot of these payments are large. So always be cautious. And whenever you see discrepancies in your dashboard, take a look at those, please, because that is a lot of effort that goes into, and there's no need for that. Contact, there is always a telephone on everybody's desk. Dial the number, because if you got them on the contract, that means you all have a relationship with each other. Contact the person and trying to resolve it before we get involved. This is what I was just speaking about. Timing of the billing cycle and the payment reporting are the two most common causes of discrepancies. Mailing, not getting it, especially now during the COVID session that a lot of mail was delayed, but that's not neither of you's fault. The prime's responsibility is to report on the date of the payment was made. That means the date that the check left the building. Always trying to work with each other as to how to resolve before it comes to us. Now, there's an executive order that I believe all participating primes got a copy of, and that puts it puts two layers of additional responsibility, because what we want is to make sure that the wealth is shared properly and accordingly with all of the MW, DBE, VBE, SBI's communities. So the new executive order expands the reporting related to the contractors' diversity goals. What we call diversity goals is what the goals are on the contract. M and W, some of them are MW and D, MW, D and V, or the V for the veteran. So now the effort is more on the prime to make sure that goals are met, and the effort on make sure that everybody gets involved in delivering the scope of work, getting paid, and meeting the goals of the contract. So the prime, and that went into effect March of 2021 for all new bidding. The prime will be asked to submit projections as to when and to what extent the certified firms are expected to be used on contracts. So the prime, this has no involvement from the subs. No subs will be doing any of this work. This is on the prime, the one who gets the contract from the city. They will be asked to put the projections together as to from beginning to end, and they will be notified either they put it with the bid or as soon as the compliance plan gets submitted to the Department of Procurement Services, what time will these projections need to be included and submitted. And that's a perfect tracking tool for you to know as to kind of where you are as the project moves along. Now, the second layer of this diversity goal executive order is you have to, because when you are asked to report, you report, but you actually are not tracking properly whether or not your goals are being met, one, and whether or not everybody that you retain for the amount that you retain them, that they're actually getting that amount paid. So this quarterly reporting that is going to also, that we're currently working on with the vendor to develop and put it into the C2 system, it will force you to basically on a quarterly basis report the amount based on the goal that you have paid, and the system will calculate for you to see where you are at in regards to individual attainment and overall goal, project to date, not year to date, not period to date, project to date. Now, once that is done, if you're, based on the calculation of the data that you entered, if you are above goal, meaning you have spent enough with all of your participating subs, you're above goal, kudos to you. You will have to provide no additional documentation. You have to do this on a quarterly basis. However, if the system, because all of this, since you have been reporting on a monthly basis, all of this data is going to be fit into this new format. If it is detected by the system that after you put in the quarterly data, the quarterly amounts of payments, and if you happen to be below the goal, a section is going to open up that is going to ask you to provide, and here it is, an explanation and a recovery plan. I also like to cover an action plan to see how you intend to bring your project current. Meaning, if the goals of the contract are 25 and 5 and you are 20 and 2, well, I intend the project just started, or my vendor just lost certification, blah, blah, blah. So I am in the process of asking to add additional vendors onto the contract. Whatever the plan is, and mind you, we will hold you to that corrective action plan. Okay, the next one, and mind you all are going to be getting correspondence in regards to how each one, I know for a fact for the projections that is all been going out with the bid packages. And as soon as the compliance plan gets done, or it's been submitted to the city, the projections are being submitted as well. But for the third bullet, which is the quarterly reporting, that is all on the works. And you will get notification as to when, how we're working with the vendor to make sure the alert is sent out and all of that. So it's kind of as smooth as seamless at the same time. The last part of this diversity goal executive order is that annual reports should be included on a yearly basis for how basically you are basically dividing your spending either in goods and services, and for which one of the goals that are associated with the contract. More additional information for that will be forthcoming, but I just wanted to give you a heads up in regards to what is coming down the pipe. At this point, I'm opening the floor for any questions and turning it over to the event coordinator.
Well, thank you so much, Gabriel, for imparting that great information to us. And if you have any questions regarding this, you can contact Gabriel. If you go back to the first slide that has your email address on it, Gabriel, they can get in contact with you if they have any further questions regarding this presentation.
Let me see
I'm sorry?
It's Gabriel Rodriguez 2 in my email. Sorry.
Okay, it's Gabriel Rodriguez 2. Well, give me a second, and then what I will do is put up the new slide that has that on there. But as I was saying, if you have any further questions regarding that, feel free to send any of your questions to Gabriel, and he will answer those questions for you. We are glad that you are able to join us today. And I do want to put this information up. I do want to put this information up on the screen so that you are able to see it. So if you give me just a second, I will make sure that you have the correct information. And Gabriel, is this correct?
It is.
Okay. And let me go ahead and maximize the PowerPoint so that they can see. So again, this was tracking contract payments, what you need to know. Our host for today was Gabriel Rodriguez. His email address is gabriel.rodriguez2@cityofchicago.org. Again, if you have any further questions, this email will be posted on the website, and you will be able to get it and download it and peruse it, as well as get it for the informational purposes. Thank you so much, Gabriel. And if anyone has any questions, you know what to do, and we will see you at the next workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.